Good day, everyone. It's been a while. How are you, Mr. Fash?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay. Our word for today is coming from the book of Genesis chapter 18. So we are going to be reading from verse 25 up to 33. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what's happening after Abraham has been visited by those three men. The guys who visited him, who mentioned the issue of Sarah having a child next year. Verse 25 is saying, "Far be it from you to do such a thing, to put the righteous to death with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked. Far be that from you. Shall not judge of all the earth.
Shall not the judge of all the earth
Do what is just." So this is Abraham talking to God, because when these men turned from Abraham's tent, they were heading toward Sodom. So now this is Abraham who is standing before God, and he is having a conversation with him. God wanted to destroy Sodom. So Moses is interceding for the people of Sodom. So he is asking the Lord if he's going to destroy the whole city, even if there are some righteous men in that city. We'll continue. And the Lord said, "If I find at Sodom 50 righteous in the city, I will spare the whole place for their sake." Abraham answered and said, "Behold, I have undertaken to speak to the Lord, I who am but dust and ashes. Suppose 5 of the 50 righteous are lacking, will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And he said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 there." And again he spoke to him and said, "Suppose 40 are there." He answered, "For the sake of 40, I will not do it." Then he said, "Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak." Then, so this conversation goes on and on until they get to a point where he said, "Suppose 10 are found there." And the Lord said, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." And the Lord went his way when he had finished speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. So this is just a continuation of our discussion that we had the other day of intercession. Moses and Abraham, I don't know where I'm getting Moses. Abraham is interceding for the people, for the righteous people in Sodom. Yeah. So there are a few things to note in this case. The first thing is that the position that Abraham is taking in those people's lives is very important. So we also as individuals, we have a task to stand on behalf of other people, to intercede for them. We know that we have we know that there are people who are righteous. Maybe they are, I'll give an example. Maybe they are in a work environment which does not accommodate maybe Christianity. We know that nowadays we are working with different people, different religions. Maybe you know that there's someone who is not working with Christians. You are supposed to be there to stand before the Lord and pray for that person, because who knows what those people are doing, and your friend or relative might be caught in between the anger of the Lord. So this is the position that Abraham is taking. He's pleading with the Lord that, okay, we agreed that if we have 50 people in Sodom who are righteous, you are going to spare the seed. What if of the 50 righteous, if 5 are lacking, which means the number is reduced? So by the reduction of the number of people who are righteous in this case, the Lord still continues to say, I will spare them. Up until we got to the number 10. He said, for the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. This is the second part that I want to talk of. The Lord is willing to do anything for, as long as there is a righteous person among the people on this earth. The Lord, that's how gracious He is. He is a gracious God. He is considering just 10 people. I'm imagining, I don't know how big the city of Sodom was in that time, but let's say it's just a city that we know. Maybe I will give an example of our country, Zimbabwe. Maybe it's in Harare. He's saying, just because of 10 righteous people in Harare, I will not destroy it. I will not destroy the seed. So this is a challenge to us as Christians, that when the time comes that the Lord wants to destroy this earth, or when something bad is about to happen to this world, will I be found amongst the 10 that are going to save the seed? In what position will I be in? Will I be among the 99%, or I will be among that 1% which is standing as a bridge to save the city? So it's just up to you to decide who you want to be in this equation, because we have those who are sinning and we have the righteous. Then at the end of it all, we have destruction. So where are you? Are you the minus or the plus? It's a question to us as Christians. And it's very important. It might not be, so the city might be something which is very big in this case. We can represent a city like using a family setup. It's your family. You are born in a family that is not that does not believe in God, or you are now the only one, because now we know that these people, they are actually people who knew that there is God, but they decided to do otherwise. It's your family. We have now decided to part ways with God because of different circumstances, because of different reasons, or whatever that happened in your family. Are you going to be that person who is going to close that gap that is between the Lord and your family? Or you are actually going to join them and completely your family's name will be deleted from the book of Christians, or from the book of those who believe in God?
That's strong. Deleted.
Okay, will be what? Brushed off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, you understand. So that's the second thing. The other thing is that the character that Abraham is showing in this case, because Abraham he had it all. He had all the things that he could need. We had that he had the livestock, the riches, he had servants, he had everything. And in this case, he has just been promised by God. The Lord had just appeared to him when he was sitting at the door of his tent, and he was telling him that you are going to have a son by this time next year. So already he's having good news in his life of him having a son and everything, because we know that the only thing that was lacking in Abraham's life was the son of Sarah, because already he had Ishmael. So we might just say maybe in our life nowadays, you would be someone who has it all in the eyes of people. He's not lacking anything, but he's humbling himself and going before the Lord, interceding for others. Yet he been one of us, the Christians of this generation, we wouldn't even care about what's happening to those in Zambia or what's happening to those in Sudan. So this is also just a lesson to us that, okay, we are Zimbabweans. Maybe in our country there is no war, but we know that there is a war currently in Russia. I don't know if it's still going. Yeah, we know that there are countries that we know that always in Iraq, is it Iraq or Iran? I don't know. Let me not include names, but we know that there are those countries that are always having wars, hunger strikes, I don't know, you name it, but we have peace in our country. So maybe in our eyes there might not be any need for us to pray for any nation, because in your eyes your country is everything that a person could ever need. But Abraham humbled himself and prayed for Sodom. We know that of course his nephew Lot was there, but just setting that aside, he was praying for just the righteous people of that land. That's a very big deal. Are we able to do that for others? Are we able to do that for other Christians that are in other countries, or that do not have anything to do with us, that we do not even know? So the greatest message that we are getting from this is still the message of intercession. I don't know if you have anything to add or to subtract.
I will have some things to add. It's a very interesting chapter. I like this one a lot, so I'll just comment on, I think, 2 or 3 issues. Let me just start with this one before I forget. Where Abraham is interceding for the righteous people in Sodom. Now, what I like about him on this part is the person who is in Abraham's mind is his son, Lot, right? So he is thinking about Lot, but he is not approaching God with regards to the relationship that he had with Lot. He's talking about, if you find people who are righteous in the city, are you going to destroy them? So that alone is telling us that the relationship that we should build with God is a personal relationship, and a relationship that is at personal level. It's not going to matter that I personally, I know God and I have a good relationship with him, so I can intercede for Nintendo, my daughter, to say, can you forgive Nintendo's sins because I know you. That's not it. But when I'm interceding, I'm saying, if you find that if you find someone, or you find that my daughter is righteous, are you going to destroy it? So in other words, the point that Abraham is basing on is not their relationship, but the relationship of those of Lot and God. So if Lot is righteous, are you going to destroy him? It means we need to understand that when we worship God, it's each man for himself, or each person for themselves, right? You don't have to rely on my prayers or on my good relationship with God to say it's going to cover you because you are my wife, you are my spouse, or you are my nephew, or something like that. That's the first thing. But then also I was just imagining how gracious God is to say, Lot started at 50. If you find 50 righteous people in this city, are you going to destroy them? Then God said, no, if there are 50 people there, I'm not going to, for the sake of those people, of those 50 people. But then the number actually reduced to 10. You know, these days you are selling your handmade things. If you are charging something for $50 and someone is saying, please, can you discount for me to $40? Say, okay, I can sell it to you at 40. They said, but I have 35. Can you do it 30, please? Maybe you can agree, but discounting up to $10 from $50.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But that's how God is. We can just learn that God is very merciful from this part. You know, and even when we read the chapters that are to come, probably there were not even 10 people who were righteous in that city. It was Lot, and he had to take his wife and probably children, and that story we know it. But we're simply saying, what matters to God is the relationship that we have as individuals with Him. It's not going to be about the whole city, to say when God is looking at the crime rate in the New York City or in Harare or in Bulawayo, then we are going to be punished like that. Our prayers as people who are righteous before God can save us. That's what is important. Also, what I wanted to something that's interesting is that these are the angels that are being sent by God with two messages that are different. When they are going to Abraham, they have a good news. By this time next year, you are going to have a son. From there, they are going to destroy. They are on a mission to destroy. So it means, while we are living in this world, God is still doing good things to His people, and all those, and He's also punishing those who are doing evil.
He's multitasking.
So it's not going to be like, you know, this is how we are now living, to say, but after all, everyone is. This is what is trending.
After all, everyone is doing it.
So
nowadays.
yeah, I don't think I can be, you know, judged as if this is too much. No, everyone is, you know, is taking drugs. Yeah, but we are saying God is looking for those who are righteous. He's also looking at those who are being evil in this era. So while you are receiving your blessings, someone is being destroyed because of their evil doings. So it matters for you to continue to do what is right before God, because He's looking at everyone. Not, He doesn't say, okay, now I'm looking at New York City. You know what we do as humans, we go by the majority rule to say, if we are to vote, then if somebody if somebody has more than 50%, is the winner. Whether you like it or you don't like it, he's the president. That's not what's happening here. God is looking at saying, okay, the majority is doing this, but I still have good news for those who are seeking me in truth, and those who are being righteous. That is what is important. But that's the other aspect that I wanted to touch as well, to say we don't need to tire to do what is good, because the Lord is looking at us and is coming with our blessings at the appointed time. The same messengers from God with good news are the ones that are also being sent to destroy Sodom. So it is very important to understand these things. Then I'll just read verse 17. It's just before the verses that you read. It says, the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation? Okay, that very first part that says, shall I, the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Okay, this is just after the angels had delivered the message about the birth of Abraham's son, right? Say by this time what? Then they were on a mission to go to Sodom. Now this is the Lord who is, what can I say? Pachishona toti ndimwari vari kuzvitogesa kuti zvinoitawo here kuti ndite chinhu ichi uyu munhu asingazvizivi. That's deep for me.
Yeah.
In this era of ours.
That's a very strong relationship that Abraham had with
God.
Because now I'm just imagining it as a relationship of a husband and a wife. Well, a normal relationship.
Okay.
Because we know that there are those families where husbands hide things from their wives. But under normal circumstances, you should feel guilty to do something which is very huge like that. Because we are talking of destroying the whole city without my knowledge.
You understand? That's how deep the relationship was. To say, okay, is it, I don't feel, this is God, talking to himself, to say, I don't feel like it's good for Abraham to hear about this news together with this Rudende Kungozot. Sodom yazodai.
Yeah.
Vanhu vatumwa vatobhofamba vapedza mission. They have delivered the message. Now they have to go there. But God is saying, can I do this without informing you? That's the question that I want to pose to us as Christians today. Be it in your family. Do you have that kind of a relationship with God to say, God will say, I cannot bring this death upon this family without the knowledge, without you having the knowledge of that, event. So in other words, we are talking about people who see things before they actually happen. God is saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You have to know it. Not from only from your, at family level. Be it at church. When God is looking at your church, where you are fellowshipping there, do you have that kind of relationship with God to say, God will say, no, I cannot bring this upon this church, and I have to tell him that this is what is going to happen. So, in other words, we are saying it was because of that relationship of Abraham and God that had, that actually gave Abraham the opportunity to save Lot. Because if it was not like God had to tell him, we were not going to hear about this conversation of saying, will you spare the city because of these 50 righteous people or what? That's something which is very interesting. When you also read, the chapter when that city was destroyed by fire, there's a verse that says Abraham actually looked at the smoke that was coming from the city. But from that same very chapter, we hear that they were given instruction that you don't have to look back, because if you see the destruction, then you're going to die. Or that's what happened to Lot's wife. But Abraham was looking at that thing. Other people are being told to say, if you look back and see that destruction, you are going to die. But Abraham was looking at that destruction. So it means there is something that was in Abraham that was not found in any of these people. So it's just about the relationship that we should have with God. Let's, how can I put it? We need to have that desire, to desire a deeper relationship with God.
Intimacy. It's like, even this conversation that he was having with the Lord, just, tongoti kuita dhiri namwari kudhila chaizvo madhiri ekuti unozvitaurirana kunegotiata muchiti but ko mukawana kune 5 Very right. Toita say what?
You know, it's very interesting when you're reading this. The last part you said, Marika, you know, this is how I'm just imagining, because this has to be a dialogue. You say, Mara nsoda zvangu kutsamisa ndoziva ndachema but okay chirege kunditsamira but kokana kune 10 it means, you know, God is you are taking the attention of God. Kana Mwari vachida kuita zvinhu kuti Mwari muyatimbowirirana musati maita zvamuri kuda kuita, that kind of a relationship. Now okay, ndoda kuibvisa now, handisi kuda kuti ndichiti ndeyaAbraham naMwari kana kuti ndeyako naMwari. Takuda kungobvunza tiri kuside kwako iwewe as an individual, do you feel the same kuti ndakutorara ndisina kumbonamata Mwari nhasi kuti unorwadziwa here? In this case it was God who felt kuti I think it's bad kuti ndite chinhu ichi Abraham asingazvizivi. Ko iwewewo alright, atichimboto totozviziva kuti pamwe iwe naMwari hamusati mava palevel iro raAbraham naMwari, but iwewe semukristu wanhashi, do you feel guilt kana ukavata usina kumbotaura naMwari? Ndotovata here sina kumbobvunza Mwari mangwana kana kuti sina kumbovatenda nezvavaita? Do we have that thing?
Nazitomboroyo munhu anotongoenderera mberi kutonopinda basa asina mbotaura naMwari kana kuti ndiro here basa Mwari ramakati ndishanda
here vapo zvoti guys handina kana kumbotenda Mwari vatovapo pakati.
It's something which is very interesting, you know. Even Twitter, like going on to verse 21. In fact, from verse 20, the Lord said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great and their sin is very grave, I will go down to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry that has come to me. And if not, I will know. This shows us that, just talking of how gracious God is, He's actually willing to give us some time. He's saying, I will go and see whether they've done altogether according to the outcry. Like He's giving us an opportunity to turn back to Him or to correct our sins before He even does anything. Before He sets the city on fire, He was willing, which is what He did. These angels, they actually went to Sodom and Gomorrah to check. So He's also willing to enter into our lives and check the wrongs and check. This actually shows that He's open for business with us. He's opening up His heart for us. He's opening up His everything, so that you just
I think let's just say there is a grace period for you to make things right with God. But the truth is, destruction is there. You are going to pay for the sins if you don't repent. So we need to make sure that we correct our behaviors and everything. This is very interesting, you know. We might be tempted on chapter 13, you know, when Abraham separated with Lot. We hear that it was Abraham who asked Lot to say, can you choose where you want? Then I will that's what happened. Then Lot actually chose this place which is now being destroyed as Sodom. But when you read it from chapter 13, that's it means that the greener pastures is now the what?
Milk and honey.
Yeah? This is now the Sodom which is now being destroyed by fire. But we're simply saying, when you have a relationship with God, God actually, He knew about this place. When we talk of greener pastures, we are looking at the physical appearance, but we are not looking at the people who are actually the people who are dwelling there. God knew about the people in Sodom. So Lot paito chuzanga singazevan, but Mwari protected Abraham from going there. But it was we are not, it's a sermon for another day. Kana tika pane zvinhu zvatinoti greener pastures, tika darikirwa nemukana iwoyo. tine problem yekuti hatizoriwind kuti kana zvazodai tozoti but ndozvinhu zvataichemera izvo. Pamwe ibasa rawakatotsamwira Mwari kuti vasinganamati vakapromota vakadai niramwe rikanzi rapera, yet God
which is what usually happens. Imi vacho vanenge vachitonamata muchiita zvakanaka muchidi hamumawani mabasa.
But problem yekuti hatizoriwind. Pamwe pane basa rawaitoda ukarichai, Mwari vachikuitira kuti usazopotswa nepawavi. Pamwe down the line hatisi kuti ndo zvinoitika, but kazhinji kacho tirikungoti kana zvazoitika hamuzodzokeri kurevisa kuti position iyo yawaichemera pamwe munhu iye akatozodzingwa basa kana kuti rakatozopera kana kuti iko zvino varipo but zvinhu hazvichafambi zvakanaka, but you wanted to be there. Mwari vakakuprotect. I'm just saying this is what happened with Abraham. Mwari vakataura naAbraham ati kuna Loti, chuza kwaunodai because hatiri pakunetsana. Loti akandoda kuenda, Abraham ati iwana wakaenda nekuright, indoenda nekuleft. But ndo patavapo munhu akakusiya uchienda kumagreen pastures ndiye akuchinegotiata naMwari kuti zvinhu zvako zvikufambira. So it's just about the relationship that we should have with God. So this is a very good word that you have given us. We want to thank God for this. It's reminding us about our relationship with God. We need to make sure that we have that kind of intimacy with Him. Let's start on our side. This is what actually will draw God to us. We need to feel this, to say there's nothing that I can do without letting God know about these things. I need to ask Him. I need His guidance. Unofana kurohwa maana ngairove kana uchingorarama usingamboudzi Mwari kuti if God is not part of this journey, am I in the right direction?
Yeah.
So if you are someone whokuti you don't feel kuti kana Mwari varipo pachifamba neni, I'm doing the right thing, then you are actually developing that kind of a good relationship that we're talking about. But kana uri munhu anongorarama kuti it's like you have enough wisdom to know what you're supposed to do. Unongora kungomuka unamati ungoenda kwauda kuenda wodecide kuti ndonotsvaga here basa rako ndosiyaka. So it means you are just saying things are actually happening according to my wisdom. That's a very dangerous path to walk on. We need to have that kind of a relationship to say, I'm not going to do this before I ask this from God.
I think the takeaway thing is that we should ask ourselves, what am I doing with regards to this intimacy that we are talking about? What am I doing on my part? What am I doing to please God? I will still keep on giving the example of people who are in a relationship. It might not be a husband and a wife, but maybe just a friendship. Because you need to be constantly in touch with your friend for you to maintain the relationship that you have, constantly checking up on each other, but maybe the friendship will not even do. Let's give an example of a spouse. You can't even spend a day without talking to your partner. There are things that you do, you give them gifts, you do all sorts of things for them just for you to please them and to show that you still love them, to show that our relationship is still fine. What are we doing?
That is if there's a good relationship between the spouse, right? Otherwise, we can also learn the part that we are discouraging. If the relationship is not okay, if we are not in good books as spouse, then
you
it means
won't even feel the need to do that.
I just think of going somewhere, then I leave.
You will be okay without talking to me for even a week. You will be fine.
Then how do we define that kind of a relationship? That's a bad relationship. And this is exactly what is happening with most of us with God. You can,
We are just those kind of Christians who, when we go to gatherings or when we are among other people, if asked, do we have any Christians? You raise your hand. It's just a label. that says Christian, but
just like when you are in a marriage
ukungonzako maivhashi, but
wakangogarawo vana kuti kana pakaitika dambudziko munhu anozotanga kubvunzwa ndiani. Hazviiti kuti ndaita accident iwo rega kuzviziva, ndo unozongotangawo kutsvaga kunzi tine munhu ari pamomuziva kuti mudzimai wangu handiwazvoni. Unongotsvagwawo kana paita dambudziko. Ndo zvinoitawo makristian
anangotsvagawo Mwari kana pane zvaitika.
Kana pane zvaitika takutongoti tine nhamba dzamufundisi here. Ndakapedzera kutaura dauri ndoakupira sei kunamato. But you know, when we have this kind of a connection, right now ndikatobva panapa, like iwe ukabva pano, whether you are when you perceive that you are in danger, unototanga kufona shani handisi kunzwisisa zviri kuitika, pane munhu ari kungonditevera. But kana tisingadanana ungandodzizvo, unotomira kuti utanga wapondwa utozondapondwa ndokuti ndigotirembuka kuti saka uri kundiudzire kana chikutei. Hatitaurirani. We are not in that, you know, in good books. So that's how it is. We have to be people with that intimacy with God to say there's nothing that's going to happen in your life without you asking God about it. We need to, you know, when you go, okay, today, when you go before the Lord, you need to ask Him to say, Lord, can you tell me about things that are actually going to happen in my life before even probably they happen? To say, if, you know, if there is a job interview, I want you, God, to communicate with me that this is what is going to happen in that interview. It's also good for us to understand that we might even receive negative news from God to say, okay, we know that you have an interview, but that job is not yours. It's very important for you. Pane kuti uinveste zvinhu zvese uchienda kuinterview, Mwari avanoziva kuti haufanira kunge uchienda, but hamuna ukama hwekuti vangokudza. You know, there are so many ways of, you know, God telling you about what is going to happen in your life. Pamwe pacho unongoti ugona ntomboziva kuti ndakawawo simba wekusainda sei.
But also
simple. Mwari vatokommunicate, you're supposed to be there. Oh, yesterday we have this, it's a testimony. You were supposed to go that side. Then you just decided to say, why should I go there? Then you actually found some other reasons that you gave. Later on, you saw that it was not even a good decision to go there. So we are simply saying, God has so many ways to communicate with us. It might not be like in this instance, alright, Abraham danda kutobaya shamwari chega ndikudze zviripo. But
but ivo vari kutofila guilt.
You understand? Kuti kana Abraham, it's not like Abraham was going to question God kuti kweinaizonoparadzirei. No. But Mwari vakangofila kuti, you know, that kind of, it's even there in our day-to-day relationships. Pane zvinhu zvekundotofila kuti but ndaitirei zvinhu izvi tadi ndisina kuita sei kumuudza. Not kuti anotombozotsamwa kuti kwewazozvitire usina kundiudza, but unongofilawo kuti I have to tell my friend about this. That kind of a situation. It means there is a relationship between the two of you. Imagine best friend yako unoti best, we're talking to the youth. Kuti angozonzwa kuti wakawana nzvimbo kuHarvard usina kumuudza, haungongosumuke kuenda kuHarvard uchibva kuHarare, unototi bestisha ndakawana nzvimbo ndakuenda. Kwete kuti wasvika kuti my friend ndati ndikudza kuti ndakuno. Zvototiudza kuti pane ukama hwenyu hauna kumira zvakanaka. Kana wakamira zvakanaka, uno uchitotsva kuti best ndichakwirawo ndege for the first time. You need to tell it. But we actually know, because of some of our friends and relatives, we know people to tell, to say, udomudza ndasvikawo. Uyu handigoni kuinda ndisina kumuudza. That's what we are talking about. So we need to mend our relationship with God. Can we be in that position? It's very easy, you know. It's not like you want a lecture to say, how can we get to this position? Let's just scrutinize the life of Abraham. He is known for his faith. Saka tsvagawo zvinoita kuti uve nefaith. Tsvaga Mwari. Macharacters akawanda tinonzwa aitaura naMwari mushoko raMwari vaimborarama sei? Ndozvatiri kufanira kurarama tichiita pamazuva edu.
we always talk of spicing up things in our relationship. We should also find ways to
That's very
spice
true.
up our, you know, like the other taitaura zvokuti sometimes zvinhu zvinopedzisira zvakuita sekuti it's now religious, we're just doing it for the tsvaga zvinospice kuti unzwe kuda kufarira. You know, I actually read somewhere mumwe munhu achiti mazuva ano kwava hanzi mabhaibheri ari kunaisiwa especially for the youth, just for them kuti angonakidzwa nekungohwa kuda kungorivhura. That's spicing up things, kuti unzwa kutoti kana uchiziva kuti maybe if you listen to worship songs in the background ndozvinokuisa mood, do those things that help you to spice up your relationship with God. If you know that you need to be doing outreach or whatever that you can do, we are not, some were made preachers, some evangelists, some ministers of the word, etc. So just find a way that you can use to maintain your relationship with God, because I'm sure hapana pekuti inini hapana pandaizombokuziva kana dai asina kugara newe. The same applies to us with God. Hapana pandichazomboziva Mwari kana ndisiri in his presence.
Exactly.
How will I know him if I'm not in his presence? How will I know him if I do not spend time with him? Because we always say to our partners, mazuva ano haasi kundipa time. Chichi. People always say, tiri kumbodzidzanawo naMwari. Verenga shoko ravo uchidzidza zvavanoda, zvavasingadi. Tiri kuzivana. What are you doing for you to know the Lord more than you do now? You're not doing anything. You're not reading the word. You are not listening to sermons. You are not, but there are people, all right, vasingakwanisi kufocus. Just find my sermons, mazvano. They are all over. Even on TikTok we have preachers. Are you someone whokuti even tikavhura your feed kana kuti on Instagram mareels achange achibuda panorombopopa apo here ine chekuitawo kana nezveshoko raMwari kuratidza kuti mumasocial media mako uri kumbotsvagawo zvinhu zvaMwari. Social media yako, like your feed yakaita sei?
I also wanted to say that's even how we grow our relationships. Zatinotoziva isusu. Ndiri kufunga mukomana paanoapproacha musikana achimuti ndokuda tinoda kuti tidanane. For the first time kana musikana anga asingazive munhu iyeye anoti okay, let's try and see kuti zvinofamba sei. But try and see apa ari kuti the more we are going to spend time together, then I'm going to learn more about you. Then this is the same applies with us and God. How do we then know more of God if we don't seek to spend time with him? The more yatinotsvagawo kuswera naye ndopatichamutswa. You know, even vanhu too, iweni tiri pano kudai so, the way yatinofila kuti kana tida kuapproacha Mwari inogona kunge yakatosiyana because of the difference iripo parelationship yangu naMwari neyako naMwari. Kune mumwe munhu wekuti anotofunga kuti ataure naMwari they have to go to a church or to a mountain or to somewhere. But if you are somebody who is always in prayer or who is in constant communication with God, then you can tell even I can ask God about anything, or I can inform God about anything. God, is this the right thing that I'm doing? Then ndatotanga unamata. But wakana uchiita zvokumuonera kuchechi uchafunga kuti maybe I need a pastor to come through or some, you know, it's just us, you know, doing the things that are going to grow our relationship with God. Even kumachechi kwatinoenda, you know, there are things that we even do for the men of God. Mapastor eda tinozama kuona kuti ndoita sei kuti pastor ndiitirewo pastor ndifadzewo pastor. Kana tichizama kutsvaga kufadza munhu waMwari, kutsvaga kufadza iwo Mwari kwacho kunotisisa papi naMwari. We also know kuti zvine zvazvinoita kana ndikaenda kuna pastor wangu ndikamitira chakanaka akafara neni, it means God is also seeing that ndiri kuitawo something kumuzodziwa wake. What about zvandinoitira iye direct? You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, It's all about growing our relationship with God. Let's have that desire for a deeper relationship with God. It's very important.
Yeah, and I think the last thing is that we should find kuti there could be some things zviri kutotitadzisa kuti tichigara tiri muna Mwari. Maybe taimbosigara tiri muna Mwari. You know, 2 weeks back, what you asked me this other day, 2 weeks ago, I was actually asking myself, and I was actually, it was a prayer of confession. Mwari, it seems ndakutonyanyisa kutoita zvemadhoiri, like the time that I
The passion that you are showing
towards madhoiri yakunyanyisa kutodarika, like there are times dzekuti ndaitombotiwo ndichimuka but ini ndakutotikono ndichimuka ndakutongofunga kuti ndofanira kuti ndinobatanidza bakapeteni kangu kachididididi. There are those things, this is just an example, there are those things that even inini now ndikavhura my phone ndikatongona munhu achiruka something chero nango chakashata sei, like I feel very happy. That's the conversation that I was having with God, kuti I should feel happy ndichigara ndiri mushoko renyu, kuti that zeal that I have to know more patterns, more designs, etc. So you know the things that you love more. Every person has those kind of things that they love.
kungomuka so WhatsApp
kudai TikTok,
ma-updates,
kungodai Instagram, semikana muri mugrupu remani untouchable,
kuti 2 hours dzinopera nchiti no uri kurasika uchianalyza bhora
ndichitotaurawo newo pintidaira
ma-1 izvinowanikwa
but tikungotaura kuti turiko tunhu tomone mwana tomuupenyu hwake, tunhu tokuti you know kuti this thing is actually taking up my time. You know what Sister Sarah said that day, kuti delete the app. Of course we know kuti my applications are ahead, we need them. I want to kutaura kuti like senge WhatsApp ndotaura sei na Chloe kana ndisina video call, but pane mamwe ekuti you don't even need that application.
WhatsApp imomo haudelete WhatsApp, but kune vamwe vanhu nemamwe magroup aunofanira kudelete.
Kune vamwe wakamboona futi kutotika, kune vamwe vanhu vekuti once wangototanga kutaura naye chero kubika uchabika, ukangogara chaipo pafoni bhurumu watotsveka uko wato uchinzokufara chaiko, kuti unoona kuna vanhu vane vachitaipa so vachidai smile uchisvika ukoko. I think if we could just have that same kind of smile, tichinakidzwa nenyaya dzemubhaibheri.
Yeah,
it's not easy, but it's what we are supposed to do. Because unoona kuti inini kandogara ndichifunga kuti and hakuna munhu ane achida kuti ave on the wrong side yepartner yake. Uchida kutoti ugare uchiti murume wangu andifarire, kana ari semunhu asati atoroorwa uchinzwa kuda kuti handisi kuda mboita anything chinondibviringidza kuti tisaroorana, wati uchipuruna maside chike uchimaka materitories. That's the same thing that we are supposed to do, marking our territories. Satan asatombobi atoziva kuti this one is untouchable. And not kuna vanhu vataitoziva chero tiri kumayouth kutoti iwe waitomaitovaziva imi vasikana vekuti mechitoziva kuti uyu musikana nangu ukamudza kuti kudii anomira nemukomana wake, hapana zvamunombomuita, akatomaka materitories ake, ane maboundaries akasita kuti inini this I will not do.
Ndizvo zvaizva zvokuti kune mati kana kuti vambonetsana kuti musiye mudaidai vazodzokera ronzi hakuna kiti rotirambanisa ivo vakabvewa mutsuva,
but isusu tinoramba Mwari. Unonoti pane vanhu vekuti akasvika pari kutaurwa nezvaMwari haashaiwi chekutaura, osvika pane vari kutotaura kana zvokuenda kun'anga hatomboshayiwo zvokutaura, ana achitotiwo but time zvimwe zvinhu zvinotoda kutotombotopota uchitombonoendawo ikokoko because zvine zvatoita, like hauna power munhu wokuti inini right as a wife ndenichiti ndiri Ndichiti ndine two characters or maybe images ekuti one cannot tell if I'm married or not. Those are the kind of life that we are living mazuano as Christians. Pane vamwe wekuti you cannot tell kuti uri mukristu here kana kuti, but it's our character that is actually anzi unhu hwedu chaiwo should preach, but are we preaching?
Yeah, we have to make sure that we preach by our character. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm just imagining when we get to that kind of a relationship where I can negotiate my salary with God.
Ndabone salary.
Because you had 5,000, but and this would all thanks anyway, but you can put it on 20,000. Can I 20,000? Talk about Garjiti 30. Don't go by 30. Go scap up with data or she negotiate. Because don't worry, that's the one.
Chingontitengera uchichichi kusvika akutenga
toda kungotenza Mwari with this powerful. Thank you so much for the words. Amen.